sun came out. It got actually quite hot in the middle of the day. You know, for fucking winter.
Yeah, no, it was mental yesterday. It was so fucking humid. It's like 70% humidity or something. You were just sitting inside and felt wet. It wasn't okay.
Yeah, that sounds gross. I'm good. I'll stay here, thanks.
Nah.
Is it dry in the Czech Republic? If we get a castle there?
I mean, it should be, but the last years haven't exactly been weather according to plan, so...
Oh, goddamn global warming.
Yes, so we might have to put a glass globe on top of the castle. Like, just enclose it in its own bubble.
Rightio, then.
I mean, we could also get a snow machine and then just get some snow in there, too. That'd be cool.
That would be cool. Alright, I'm on board.
Alrighty, Czech Republic Castle and some snow.
Okay, should I read this? Oh, you should introduce us, because that's a thing that we do.
Oh, yes, right. Well, hello, everybody out there who, many thanks, has been listening either so far or decided to listen this time. Welcome, new people. Yes, we are the weirdos with the castle in the Czech Republic. Not yet, but soon.
It's a goal. That's what we aim for.
Yes, hands down, that's the goal. I'm Trax, over there is Raptor. We come to you from Germany and Australia to review some books with a nice cup of tea. Today it is Dead Until Dark, the first book in the either Suki Stackhouse novels or the Southern Vampire Mysteries. It's been renamed multiple times.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit all over the shop, isn't it, with that one?
Yes.
But I think that's because she branched out, right? And she did Suki's cousin's novels as well, didn't she?
Yeah. And then after the TV show came out, they gave it the True Blood series stamp as well, so...
Yeah, I don't understand where that name came... That's the name of the drink, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Alright, I'll do the blurb thing. Hang on. Move over, Bella. Suki Stackhouse is here. Suki Stackhouse is a cocktail waitress in Bon Temps, Louisiana. She's cute and funny, and she ought to have guys queuing round the corner to take her out. But she doesn't. Thing is, most guys have a hard time dating a girl who can read minds. And then along comes Bill. He's tall, he's dark, and he's handsome, and, more importantly, Suki can't hear a word he's thinking. He's exactly the type of guy she's been waiting all her life for. Of course, Bill's not perfect either. He's a fussy eater, and a bit of a night owl, and he hangs with a seriously creepy crowd. But Suki reckons dating a vampire might liven up her social life a bit. She's no idea what she's letting herself in for. For Bon Temps is not quite as quiet as it used to be, and Suki's life is never going to be the same again. Dun dun dun!
Man. I mean, I like the cold opening of just going, fuck you, Twilight.
Yeah. Well, they came out really similar time.
Yeah, although, actually, Dead Until Dark was like 4 years earlier, I think, so she gets to take the credit for reading minds, but the other person can't hear your specific thoughts idea.
Yeah. I don't know. So this is the omnibus blurb that I'm reading too. So I guess the omnibus came out after. Like, Dead Until Dark came out in 2001.
Yeah. Yes. But, I mean, it's a nice blurb. I like it. As a side note.
Yeah. Look, to be honest, it was really easy reading. Like, really easy. I just remember it being more things going on. But it's, like, not complicated to read at all.
No, that's true. It's a comfortable read.
And look, I did read all 12 books in the series by the end of it, but...
Oh, I thought it was 13.
Oh my God, it's a lot. Well, they published in 2000 and... one, and then she published a book every year until 2013.
Oh, okay, wow. No, I just read, I think, the first 1.5 or something like that.
That's
And
a
then,
lie. There does seem to be 13. And then there's 13.5.
of course there fucking is, because we always need novellas.
No, I think Dead After, what came next in the world of Suki Stackhouse, that's when she realized that nobody had read all the way to the end. And so they just gave you a summary of where all the characters ended up.
I mean, that's fair. Yeah, I think I only read the first maybe 2.5. And then I got into the TV show when it started up. And then, I don't know, I kind of lost interest in the whole thing.
I think I made it through the first season, and that was it. And I was way too caught up in the fact that the girl who played Suki was also from X-Men, and she didn't used to have that gap between her teeth, and then she played Suki Stackhouse, and she had that massive gap in her teeth, and I was like, I don't understand.
Yeah,
it was like when Rose had that gap in her teeth, they like added the gap for the London look, and you're like, why? Why?
I mean, to be fair, there was a lot of cringe-worthy scenes in that TV show, and a lot of it definitely on what is it, Anna Paquin, I think, the actress, and just the fucking sex scenes with Bill are just so awkward, which is strange because they are a couple in real life, so it's like, what the hell is going on here?
The sex scenes in the book are weird.
Yes, that's true. But yeah, they could have done something for TV there. Just saying.
Yeah, they were a couple after the TV show came out though, so maybe they were dealing with like they liked the fact that they really liked each other and then had to have fake on-screen sex and then also deal with their feelings. I don't know.
Maybe it's all over the place.
Well, it was such a weird show. Like, and it didn't even follow the books in the end of it. I don't even know if they got up to the fairies bit. Anyway.
Yes, they did.
So that's a real spoiler alert for someone.
Yes, I mean basically we have a lot of supernatural beings in a modern setting, and it's
a lot.
Yes, although I do like the whole premise of the supernatural world being public.
Yeah.
In comparison to the usual, oh no, it's all secret and we can't tell anyone about this and all that sort of crap.
And I do like the intermixing of like the real world like ideas and then the like clearly post coming out of the coffin incident to deal with like yes. She drops movie references all the time, and then there'll be like a bunch of movie references that aren't real movies because they came about because they've got vampire actors in them or something.
Yes. Which, I mean, sure way to date your book. Let's drop some movies.
No, but like, honestly, I think it's done really well because the movie references are like, Anne Rice and the Interview with the Vampire series and like a couple of other ones that are like the older movies, but they're classics. They're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Like Nosferatu and stuff like that. Like we're talking old movies.
Okay. Anyway. Well, in terms of ratings, what would you say?
3 3/4 stars. 4, maybe. It was a really easy read. It was relatively uncomplicated. There's a couple things in there like I feel are problematic now, like with Lafayette and a couple of the other characters, but only 3 3/4 stars.
Alright. Yeah, I think I'd go. Yeah, maybe 3.5 as well, around that. Like, it wasn't a bad read. It was easy to get through, but I don't know. I didn't like Suki that much, and seeing how she's the main person in this book, it kind of dragged it down at times.
Yeah, I didn't really like Suki that much either, but I think there's a level of naivety there in her character that she gets over. I think I remember liking her more in like book 2 and 3 when she like grows up a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, how old is she in the beginning of the book?
She's 25.
Yeah. It's just... okay.
What?
Yeah, it definitely doesn't feel like she's that old. Alrighty. Should we get into spoilers?
Yes, let's do spoilers.
Alrighty, so we do have the opening. I think is really similar to the TV show, if I remember it correctly, of Bill showing up at the bar where she's waitressing.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty close to the start. Yeah.
Because I think one of the don't know if it's the first sentence, but one of the first ones was of like her going, "Oh my God, there's a vampire coming in the bar. I've been waiting for this."
Yeah, well, the very first sentence in the omnibus is I've been waiting for a vampire to come into the bar for ages or something.
Yeah.
Hang on, I'll read it. I've been waiting for a vampire for years when he walked into the bar.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, Bill walks into the bar and she realizes she can't hear him.
Yay!
And she kind of immediately knew he was a vampire, whereas like everybody else didn't.
Yes, and it's one of those statements that were like somewhere in the beginning too. Don't know if it was the first chapter or if it came later on, but just that that part of you can tell that I don't get out much, but it's not because I'm like not attractive. I am attractive. Yeah. It's just like okay, Suki.
It's a very odd way of introducing her own characteristics, and I think that's probably why we don't necessarily like her so much in the opening, and I think part of it has to do with the author growing in the later books, because she's the character has to get Suki to describe everything, and she couldn't quite come up with a way for Suki to describe herself, and in doing so she comes across as being like more than like, I don't know, everybody calls her Crazy Suki, and maybe the idea is that she started to believe that she's crazy, but she's like very abrupt. She doesn't get in. She doesn't understand a lot of the social cues. She doesn't seem to like quite be with it as much as everybody else. So she's really direct in this first book. And that kind of makes it a really easy read too.
Yeah, I mean, she also describes her mind reading as a disability.
Yeah.
Which, no.
Well, I think she does think that she is hampered a lot in life because it takes away from her ability to concentrate on anything else.
I mean, I do get that, but if I could read minds, I would not still be a waitress somewhere in the middle of nowhere in Louisiana. I fucking would have used that to get somewhere.
Not if you couldn't sit in a room full of... Like, again, I don't necessarily think that a bar would be where I was either, but I think that she has trouble in crowds and all that kind of thing because she just gets overwhelmed, right? With the volume of people's thoughts and never shutting up, not having any peace.
But you can probably get yourself a nice job somewhere if you can listen to the thoughts of the guy who's interviewing you for a job, for example.
Yeah, but this is her hometown. This is the job that she can do. I feel like she mentions that she went to she thought about going to college, but she'd really struggled through school because nobody was concentrating and they wouldn't let her concentrate, but she did really well in tests. And I feel like nowadays she would have definitely have gone for like an online course, an online degree, and like fucking nailed it. But this book is like pre-internet, so she never made it to college. She barely graduated high school. She's not got a lot of other options because she's not going to leave her grandmother in her hometown. So
yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just one of those things. I remember while reading it the first time, I was just like, why are you a fucking waitress? You can read minds. For God's sake, do something with that.
Well,
like that.
Not everybody can be a superhero.
Well, no, definitely not superhero, but I don't know. Move to the big city. Go to Dallas, do something.
No, then she'll never be able to sleep. Like, she mentions that in the book, that, like, nighttime is the best time because and particularly where her grandmother is, because she can't hear anybody else. She all she wants to do is be able to go to sleep, and she's been kept awake before at night by other people thinking.
But that just makes me think of the guy we get introduced to. Oh, I don't know. It's I don't know how many books later or how further in the story it is, but they do go to. Is it Dallas or some other?
Yes, Barry the bellhop.
Yes, he works at the hotel, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he's described as having a skittish demeanor and trying to work around vampires, right?
Yes. So I mean, maybe the job around vampires is, well, depending what kind of job around vampires you do, but she isn't the sort of person who would have been skittish around them, I think. So there definitely would have been other options too.
Yeah. I mean, she doesn't know until Bill walks into the bar that she wouldn't be able to hear a vampire's thoughts. So there's no reason for her to have decided to seek them out previous to this.
Yeah, no, not necessarily that, but he is working in a big city too, which presumably has more humans than vampires in it, and he can stand it as well, which makes me think it's also a level of control over the mind reading, or just learning how to deal with it.
I mean, it could be practice. He could have been brought up there, so he doesn't know any different. And it's the same with her being in a small town. If she's overwhelmed in school, can you imagine her fear of being in the big city? You've been to rural parts of America. How many of those people go any further than their hometown? Like,
yeah, and I mean, it's something I don't understand with the normal population either, but
yeah. You just got your own lenses on, and you have to be a little bit more sympathetic, I think. Yeah. Alright, well, whatever. Let's get into the story and not discuss how we feel about Americans again. Sorry, Americans. Okay, so Suki is our main character, and in case we haven't already mentioned it, she is 25. I think we did at the start. She lives in Bontemps, which is a tiny town in Louisiana. It's a couple hours drive from New Orleans, right? Or New Orleans.
Yeah, I think it's pronounced Bonton if the
if it's
fucking
French?
TV show. Yeah, if the TV show is to be believed, at least.
Sorry, I went to Oka on that one and pronounced it like I'm Australian. So, what is it? Give me your best French.
I think it's Bonton.
Bonton. But it's got an M in it.
I don't speak French, so I can't answer those questions.
Alright. Bonton, Louisiana.
Very nice.
Anyway, she lives with her grandmother, and her grandmother doesn't seem to work, but she does pay some of the bills. And Suki seems to pay most of the bills, and one of the reasons she doesn't want to move out is because she wouldn't be able to pay for her grandmother's food and all those kind of things if she left. Because then that would be charity, and as with any good Southern woman, she hates charity.
Yes, you fuckers go to hell. And because, we'll just go with BT, okay?
Okay.
So since BT is like super small, somewhere in the middle of nowhere place, we don't really have any vampires there, because why the fuck would they want to live there, basically?
Yeah, I mean, same for people, but anyway.
So the showing up of Bill is kind of like a little uproar to the whole town. It's like, oh my god, the first vampire, and he's moving here, like, out of his own free will.
Yeah. So he comes into the bar, and nobody else seems to know what he is, except for Suki. And she, like, gives him the lowdown and the fact that they don't have any blood, but he could have some red wine, and, you know, they're going to get some of the fake blood any minute now in the next delivery. Do you want to talk about why the vampires are out of the coffin?
Yeah. I mean, I do like the punny names of all the books, but I would have understood if she would have gone with the True Blood, like, as an overall name for the series from the beginning, because it's kind of the beginning of the whole thing. The fact that I think it was the Chinese or the Japanese managed to manufacture
Synthetic
fake blood, basically.
Yeah.
That is, at least for vampires, as I don't know, nutritional, as good as it's the perfect replacement for normal blood. I don't know if they actually ever mentioned that they use it. Yeah, and I don't know if they ever use it that much in medicine as well, or if it's like it's
I
not
think
really
there is
mentioned.
a couple of instances in the later books where they give transfusions in the synthetic blood.
Okay.
But that's only because they can't get to a hospital for some reason.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
Yes, so basically we now have a whole new food supply that wouldn't endanger humans, so they're like, oh yeah, by the way, we've lived among you forever, but it's fine, we have fake blood now, so let's not talk about the past where we killed you.
And it's a virus that makes us appear dead during the daytime. It's a virus, we have a sun allergy now.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the going story for a lot of the vampires at the moment.
Yeah.
Although
I mean, it's a neat little idea to think that you go into a random, I don't know, grocery store and there's just synthetic blood in one of the fridge sections.
I feel like you have to get it from a specific store. You're not going to get it from your normal one. You might have to go to a specific grocery store, or maybe even the chemist. I feel like the chemist is the chemist is the better place to get it.
I mean, I don't know, because for the vampires it is just normal, well, not food, but, it's the equivalent of food.
Yeah, but it's a normal medical supply for everybody else. So,
but then nobody else would buy it, because why would you need synthetic blood at home?
So why would you buy it at a normal grocery store?
Because you're gonna eat it if you're a vampire.
Yeah, but I imagine that they just have their own, e-stores and get home delivery.
Well, they didn't have the internet back then, so probably not. I don't know. I think I got roped into the idea by the TV show, which I think opens with a petrol station where a couple of humans sees True Blood and is joking about buying some True Blood and trying it or some bullshit, and then another vampire is coming in and is like, do you mind, and grabs his 6-pack of True Blood.
Well, yeah, maybe you need to buy it from the bottle-o.
I mean, that'd be great.
That would make more sense.
Could I please get 2 bottles of wine and 2 of B negative? Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, we have the new vampire coming into town, and it turns out that a couple of horrible rednecks, by the sound of it.
The rat rays.
Yes. Recognize him for what he is.
Yeah, but not overtly. But they set about distracting him and getting real intimate and buddy with him. And they actually proceed to leave with him, and Suki's really disappointed. She was missed my chance to hang out with a vampire. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, and I think she also complains about the fact that they didn't tip her.
Yeah, the rat race never tip.
Yes, I mean, let's not get into the fucking tipping culture over there, but yes.
Yeah.
How dare they?
I don't know. I feel like Sam has definitely got to pay a livable wage. Sam's a good guy. He'd pay a livable wage.
Probably. I mean, somewhere in the small town, I would assume that that a lot of the living cost isn't going to be that high, right?
Yeah. You'd hope so. Anyway, so Bill leaves Sam's bar, which is called Merlot's or Merlot's, depending on what pronunciation we're fucking using. Bar and grill.
Yes. Yeah. So the redneck couple is leaving with Bill, which, I mean, that fucking name.
William, then.
It's just, I mean, I guess it fits to the area, him being named Bill. It's just, you know, the super old, super cool vampire named Bill.
Yeah, I think that Suki comments on that as well, doesn't she?
Yes. Yeah. So I think she hears the thoughts of the couple and realizes that they're after Bill's blood because, as it turns out, vampire blood is a drug.
Yeah, it can maybe make you crazy, but mostly it, like, makes you more confident, more attractive. It's a bit of an aphrodisiac. You know, all the good things that drug culture... drugs do. All the good things that drugs could possibly do. It does those. Makes you hotter, makes you sexier, makes you taller. Can make you crazy, but
Yeah, I mean, it also gets you high to an extent.
Yeah.
And apparently people either drink it as blood, and I think there's also a powdered form that gets manufactured.
Yeah, I don't think we hear about the powdered form at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, at any rate, they want to sell some vampire blood to get some money.
Yeah. And that's what they've been in prison for, which Suki knew about them already. She'd known they'd been in prison. Because she read their mind.
Yes, so we do have a couple of vampire protecting laws, which I think is a nice touch, seeing how divided, I would say, the society is about the whole issue.
Yeah, it's about as divided as the US is now about race.
Yes, pretty much. I mean, I think she made a pretty realistic picture there, actually, of the idea that there would be a lot of religious people, especially like the Christians, going, "Oh my God, they're undead. This is not okay."
Yeah, and just in general that the small town community's contempt for vampires, and specifically women who hang out with vampires. Not men, just women who hang out with vampires.
Yeah, and not to mention that it would be a bit of confusing on the whole side of the law, because technically they're dead.
No, so they're not. Not according to the law, they're reanimated.
Yeah, but I mean, they don't fall into the same category as the normal people, basically. So the question would be, do the normal laws apply to you? Do we have to write new laws specifically for you? What's going on here?
I believe that they're just included now in all of the normal laws. That's the idea, because they talk about being able to skirt the law because the vampires will just burn up in the sun and nobody will know you committed a crime.
Yeah. So I do appreciate the struggle for society it would bring, basically.
Yeah, I do think that's handled well in the books.
Yes.
Yeah. So Suki goes to intervene, and she goes and gets her brother's chain out of his truck, which he keeps there in case he needs to have a fight, because that's the kind of person that he is.
Especially, he's apparently the kind of person who likes to fight with chains.
Classy. I mean, that just seems to be all of the men, actually, in this book. Like,
yeah.
There's it's not very high that you can aim. Honestly, like, as far as, like, breeding goes, I think Andy is the best catch in the book, but also, he's a dick. So, no.
Yeah.
Everyone else is just... I don't know. Let's get through this story.
Yes, so, she grabs the chain, and I think when she finds Bull, they've already started making a move on him.
Yeah, so they've got him tied up in silver chains.
Yeah, and she's like, well, get your hands off my vampire. Even though it's not mine yet, but definitely aiming for something here.
Yes. I mean, I honestly, I don't know why she intervened and didn't, like, call on somebody else.
Yeah, it's not like they would have been able to drain him of blood in 30 seconds, so she would have had time to go, hey Sam, could you give me a hand preventing a crime?
Yeah, in the car park of your business.
Yes, yes. But, no, she's badass Suki trying to step in there, and she manages to scare them off.
Yeah, so she gives the husband, the male partner of the pair, a real beating with the chain, and he runs off with the chain. But the woman tries to hit Bill and Suki with the car. She, like, comes back around and tries to, like, hit them with the car. But they drive off, and Bill and Suki are, like, hiding in the bushes.
Yeah.
So Bill offers her the blood that they'd taken from him already to, like, sell or something, and she's like, no, I don't want it. And she's like, but you could use it, and she's like, no, not my vibe. Which I thought was pretty cool, and then he, like, gets to explain, like, how much it's worth as far as street value goes. I think it's a good way of introducing that. And then, oh Jesus, sorry. Ugh. Radio. Surprise yawn. And then they have that conversation of being like, he's hungry, and, you know, she's wrapped the silver chains around her neck and her wrists in an attempt to, like, keep him away from her veins.
Yes, it's just, no, he definitely can't get any blood from me because I protected my neck and my wrists.
And then he's like, there's a juicy vein in your thigh, and she's like, excuse me, I thought you were a gentleman.
Yes, there's a lot of strange, or I find a lot of strange, and I can't find the word right now for it. But between all of the weird shit that happens in between, there's a weird, like, expectation of chivalry. Which sometimes it's just
Southern gentleman ideal, right?
Yes.
I think that's all it is, really. Or at least supposed to be. He's a real Southern gentleman. Apparently.
Well, yes. So, we have Suki going all lovey-dovey over Bill.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not right away. I didn't feel the budding romance at all. Like, I didn't understand where that came out of. To me, that came out of real left field. I didn't realize it happened immediately in book 1.
Yeah, it was a bit of a forced romance there. You two are in love now. Why? Because I said so.
Yeah, it does seem a little bit like that. It's a little bit hard to swallow the romance, but sure, we're on board now. Okay, I mean, that doesn't happen straight away. We get the rat race come back and attack her, like, a couple nights later as she's leaving the bar. And she's supposed to meet Bill afterwards to talk about him speaking to her grandmother's, like, old people group about what it was like during the Civil War, because he's a Civil War soldier.
Yeah, apparently they have some weird, like, Confederate afternoon group.
Yeah. The Glorious Dead is the group. But I think it's more of a genealogy history kind of thing. That's what it's supposed to be, right? It's
just a really badly chosen name for it.
Yeah, the Glorious Dead. So he's supposed to be there to like talk to her about like arranging to go hang out with the old people, because that's what she asked for, right?
Yeah, I mean, because he is one of the old people.
Yeah, so he's like from the town from 200 years ago, and they're like, oh, well, maybe you can speak to these people about like their grandparents and like what they went through and what their lives were like, basically.
Yeah, which I mean is a nice idea, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, if you had that ability, which is cool. So he's supposed to come and see her about that. He doesn't show on time, and so she's like, well, fuck it, alright, we're just going home. And then the rat rays kind of like find her in the car park and start trying to like beat her, and she's like, well, I'll just wait until they get bored and I'll stay here. And then she realizes they're going to try and kill her. So,
yes, that's not going to plan, which to be fair wasn't a good plan to begin with.
Yeah, and then a dog comes and attempts to fight them off, and well, she hears growling, and we think it's a dog, and also Bill starts growling.
Yes, because no matter what kind of vampire book we have, they always got to be able to growl.
Look, honestly, I've growled before when I've been really frustrated. I think it's kind of natural.
Okay.
Just when you get a little bit more animalistic, you know?
Well,
I don't know.
If you say so.
Oh, look, I grunt when I lift things that are heavy. I will growl if I think somebody's being super annoying. I think maybe you're just too snooty.
Maybe. I'll give you that.
It's just because you're British.
Yes, we don't tend to growl. Although I would like to imagine that the Queen just growls at the butler when he brings the wrong tea.
No, her breeding is far too fine for that. You should hang out with a rough and tumble a little bit more. You want to learn how to growl.
Yeah, probably.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, so, yes. Suki gets saved by Bill. Bill then offers to give her some of his blood in an attempt to stop internal hemorrhaging and fix her broken arm. Because powerful healing tools, that blood.
Yeah, which makes you wonder how there isn't already like a deal set up between vampires and, I don't know, the health system, that the vampires could donate blood and they can use the blood to heal people.
Oh, because they don't, like, advertise, right, about any of their abilities. The vampires,
yeah, but you would think that... Themselves. But, I mean, even in 2001, there was a lot of media, and I'm pretty sure if you people found out, it would have made its way through people in the and to some kind of reporter who would have made a big story out of it.
Yeah, I feel like that's possible that it's like rumored, but nobody would confirm it, and they definitely wouldn't like be setting up to talk to doctors. Plus, the American health system.
Yeah, I mean, we never really talk about vampires outside of the US, do we?
No, because I don't think they came out in any of the other places. They talk about being like in later books they talk about being hunted in other countries and like where they can and can't go now that they're like out of the closet, so to speak.
Yeah, which is strange. It makes you wonder about the vampires that surely must still live there undercover.
Yeah. Yeah, I think maybe they I don't know, have refugee vampires and they had to get out of all the other places once they went public, or
I don't know, the US taking refugees.
I feel like the vampire culture is very different too.
Yeah, but you have to get them past the
No, you
past
don't.
the
You just have...
human immigration.
No, not necessarily. I feel like there are ways around that. The vampires would definitely have ways around that. They're like hugely involved in the drug scene. Like everything
Yeah.
about them is a little iffy.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so we have Bill saving Suki. Suki drinking some Bill blood.
And now we get to introduce Bill to Suki's grandmother. And we realize that Suki's grandmother is so like, yes, Suki has a date, that she does not care that Bill is not human.
Yes, she's so desperate for her daughter to get for her granddaughter to finally get some action on that. It doesn't matter who's coming through the door, just find somebody.
Yeah, I think that probably her grandmother is like super worried that she's going to end up all alone, particularly when she like ages out and dies and isn't around anymore.
Yeah.
I think she's just worried that. Yeah. So I can see that she's just excited.
Yeah, I mean at some point we also have an introduction to Suki's brother, Jason, who is basically just a man whore, if we're honest.
Yeah, just very attractive.
And
Slept
screwing
with
his way
everybody
through
in the town.
Yeah.
I think he's already screwed his way through the town. He's like looking for round 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 for quite a few of them, and that's kind of like a big part of his character and why I don't think very highly of the men in this town, because he's not the only one, and there does seem to be a lot of discussions about like the women just seem to be used up and spat out in this town like a lot.
Yeah, that's true. They're usually just the conquest on the side.
Yeah, and that makes me a bit sad.
Yeah, we don't really get a lot of like great female characters from the author.
Well,
or at least not in this one.
And no, but like I can't help but compare it to the people that I'd met when we were living there and being like, oh yeah, there's a lot of like people that survive having been like rode hard and put away wet and then just putting their lives back together again. And those small towns are particularly renowned for, you know, doing anything to keep your lives interesting kind of thing.
Yeah, it's fucking weird.
I mean, we have the same problem here. We have a huge meth problem.
Fun.
Yeah. If you live in the city, cocaine is your drug. If you live in the country, then meth is your drug.
Okay, I mean, it's good to know, you know, prepping and all.
Yeah, just for when you come visit.
I'll bring my own needles.
That's probably a good idea.
I do remember actually in Melbourne going into the, being in the huge train station in one of the restrooms and them having a needle disposing container there.
They're in every bathroom. They're in pretty much every public bathroom. That's super normal. Yeah.
It gave you a feeling.
Yeah, I mean that just gives you a sense of the life that the people around here live.
Yeah, although pretty nice for diabetics.
Yeah, great. That's what it's for. Diabetics.
Sure.
Definitely. Anyway, back to the story and not the sad lives of the people we've encountered. So, okay, cool. Right.
So we have we have the whole instance with Bill and Suki, and also in the background we have a couple of murders going on in the town.
Yeah, so
which is not really a common thing in small town peaceful living.
No, particularly not back to back and not like clearly the husband did it kind of murders.
Yes, and it's all, I mean, so far it's all women, and all of them have been rumored to have sex with vampires.
No, very well. The two women. Dawn is the first victim, and she is one of those women that's been rode hard, put away wet. She likes rough sex, and she happens to have, when they find her, she's got a couple of vampire fang marks, and she seems to have gone in. Or they find out later that she's gone into the next biggest town nearby, and gone to the vampire bar there, trying to find somebody that can fit her sexual needs. Which, power to her.
Yeah.
And then somebody's come along and murdered her. Not great.
No, it's not the end of your day you're looking forward to.
No, not really. And then, so Dawn works at Sam's bar, and Suki is actually the one who ends up finding her the morning after, which is a bit unfortunate.
Yeah. Finding dead people. Fun.
Yeah.
Yes. So.
And then
she's,
I think
she's the first one. Who was the second one, though?
Maud or Maudette.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how to necessarily. Anyway, I don't know how to pronounce it necessarily. It's Dawn, and I can't remember the other chick's name. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think it's Maud. I think you're right.
Yeah, and she is she's one of those people that barely graduated high school. We come across her resume later, and it's like she can barely write. Her handwriting is barely legible. Her spelling's not great. And she's like, somebody that's kind of been left behind while the world keeps going forward. She's got a job, but she wasn't like living in the best place, and she was also one of those women who was like, would have sex with anyone because that would make her life interesting.
Yeah. So
and she also seems to have ventured off to the Fangtasia.
Yeah, I think it's in Shreveport.
Yeah.
So the police kind of has their eye on Bill because he's the only vampire around, and both of them have vampire marks.
Yeah, except that Bill's like, it wasn't a vampire. Like, what a waste of blood. Why would I strangle all the victims? Which, like, very practical, yes. But also, like, really?
I mean, if I would have killed them, I wouldn't have wasted all the good product here.
Yeah.
It's always a great excuse, yes.
Anyway, but it makes everybody, like, real suspicious of vampires.
Yeah,
and everyone's suspicious of Bill. Right up until the other vampires arrive.
Also, I think the police also has their eye on Jason because he slept with both of them.
And did dirty videos.
Yes, because why not film people too?
Yeah. Anyway, so there is that.
Yeah, so I think at some point they actually arrest Jason. I don't know if it's after the first two or later.
That's later. So, we have our meeting of Bill and the descendants of the Glorious Dead, which is that Civil War. And that goes off spectacularly, except that because Bill and Suki are kind of on the outs, or like not really dating yet, she goes with her boss, Sam, who's like asked her out on a date now that he's finally realized that, you know, he might have some competition here.
Apparently Sam has been into her for ages.
Yeah, but he hasn't done anything.
Fucking move.
Yeah. Right up until Bill comes, and then he's like, oh no! Threatened!
God damn it, there are other men out there.
Yes, and look, having reread this, having now knowing the ending of all of the books, I have so many issues with the plot, just like the choices that she makes. Anyway, that aside. Wow. Anyway, cool.
We have to come back to that in the end for a spoiler part.
Yeah. Yes, so, Descendants of the Glorious Dead. Then, Suki goes with Sam. It's kind of a last-minute thing. Then they have a fight because she's like, well, why didn't you say anything before now? And he's like, well, I didn't know what was right in front of me. And she's like, yeah, right, whatever. Sorry, mate, let's go. And he drops her off and leaves. And she walks into the house and she's like, something's wrong. Something's really wrong. And then she gets into the kitchen and finds that her grandmother has been strangled to death.
Yes, which is just like really fucking sad. And it also, I don't know, up to this point it was like the young woman who had sex with vampires. And my immediate thought was like, oh my god, what was the Nana into?
Really?
Yes. Like, at least for 5 seconds I was like, wait, what did the Nana do when Suki was at work? But, yeah.
It's pretty clear that the idea was that they
fraternized with the enemy, basically.
Well, fraternized with the enemy. No, so the idea is that whoever murdered her grandmother was expecting to murder Suki, basically.
Yeah. Although, to be fair, they would have, they definitely wouldn't have mistaken the grandma for Suki. There was ample of time to back out of the murder.
Yeah, but they clearly worked themselves into a rage at that point, I think.
Yeah. So I think any justification would have been fine for them at that stage.
Yeah. We should also talk about the other vampires that come to town.
Oh,
so there are 3 other vampires that come and visit Bill, and they are not at all subtle.
No, they're slightly eccentric.
More than a little bit eccentric. There is 1 woman and 2 men, and they've been living together for the last 50 years. Bill calls them a nest, and they're more than a little bit extravagant. And they clearly make Suki uncomfortable when she comes to talk to Bill about getting contractors over to help him fix the house that he has now inherited, because he's the only living relative of the person who used to own the house who died, which was his great-great-great-great-granddaughter or something.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah. I do get the point of him having trouble finding contractors who are willing to work at night and for vampire.
Well, I don't think that they're necessarily willing to work at night. The problem that he has I think that he would be calling them and leaving a message, and they'd be like, oh, I'm not calling that back. That's clearly a joke. There are no vampires here. So, Suki calling them, they all know who she is. She calls them and vouches for Bill so that Bill can call them later.
There's a super cool vampire. It needs a lot of handiwork done.
Well, yeah. I mean, how good's your plumbing skills? Would you be able to fix a broken down house's plumbing?
No, I never said that.
I would definitely have to get a contractor in.
Well, so we do have Bill's weird friends coming to visit.
And the term friends is used loosely.
Yeah. And also they aren't a big fan of True Blood. They're more of the old let's drink people sort of mentality.
Yeah, we also run into another one of Suki's classmates who's hanging out with them. She's basically their blood bag.
Yeah, which I think is definitely something a lot of people do. A lot of people get very into the whole vampire idea and then happily become living blood bags of them.
Yeah, because apparently the sex is great.
Yeah, although I don't really see the correlation there, but we'll just go with it.
Yeah, and I think it also gives an indication of like the class of women that Suki comes from, like the school she went to and the lifestyle that she's living is very similar to a lot of her classmates, and it wasn't that uncommon for her schoolmates not to go on to do uni or anything else like that. So I think she's doing all right in the grand scheme of things, even if she's not a university graduate.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's something I understand better now, but it used to confuse the hell out of me because over here it's most people did an apprenticeship. Like, I don't know anyone who went to uni. I don't have any friends that went to uni. Like, it's not a standard.
Hey, I went to uni.
Yes, but I mean actually from here. Like it's not an expected thing, and it's not a. I mean, it's a normal thing, but it's not something that parents would like push on their kids. Like you have to go to uni to make something out of yourself, and you have to get a degree. Most people would just do an apprenticeship, and then, yeah. So the way uni is treated in other countries, especially the US, was quite confusing at the beginning.
Yeah, well, I thought you would probably feel for her a little more. But, yeah, I mean, it's the same here. You finish year 11 and 12 and you're expected to do something. So we have, like, apprenticeships and trade school and stuff that you can do, or you can go into uni, or you can go into the workforce. And I don't think it's... I mean, there was an expectation of going to uni from kind of my schools because I went to pretty fancy schools. But it's not generally accepted that that was the only thing to do. And I was the dumbest at my school, so there was a fair expectation that I would end up in trade school, not make the cut for going to uni, but I got there in the end. So, you know, it wasn't like necessarily the expectation, but it was quite a common pathway.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
Alright, back in. So, we have these, we meet these 3 vampires. They're a bit much for Suki. Suki is super conservative. Alright, moving on. So, we leave, oh, no, wait. Bill declares to them that she's mine, and if they touch her, he's gonna, like, kill them. Woo! We get that. So, Bill clearly had some real feels. He has some real feels.
Yes, and we get, we get the slight explanation. I think that basically every vampire gets like to choose one companion, and if they do, then they're kind of off limits to everyone else.
Yeah. Well, I think 1 or 2. You're allowed a couple, but not like a lot.
I mean, you can't say the whole town is mine. Go.
No, that's too many. Radio. So, is it after that Suki tries to get Bill to take her to Fangster because she thinks the local police department isn't going to follow up with any of the bigger vampires, like any of the vampire bars in the other town, because it's in Shreveport, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I think after Jason is suspected by the police and arrested, Suki is like,
no, he's not arrested yet. He's just the prime suspect. He's not arrested until the end.
Ah, okay. Yeah, but I mean, the goal in going to a vampire bar was to find the real
killer.
See
if they'd seen who that they had been with. Anyway.
Yeah. Which would be much easier if she could hear the thoughts of vampires, because then she could just listen around trying to find that, but yeah, well.
But speaking of, she does actually get to hear some vampires' thoughts, right?
Yeah, it's a bit confusing.
Yeah. Maybe it has to happen at the exact same time that they have a heartbeat. Who knows? So they go to the club. She meets the owner of Fantasia. Fantasia. And Eric Northman, who's played by Alexander Skarsgård. And anybody who hasn't seen that opening scene, I would recommend. Just that one is...
It is so fucking cringy, and it's great.
I love it. Speaking of offline, we have to talk about some excellent, terrible TV shows.
Yes, we do.
Okay, cool. So she meets Eric and his right hand Pam. His right hand Pam. His right hand vampire Pam. His right hand man Pam.
And Eric is he's the sheriff, right? So we do have some sort of hierarchy in the vampire community system.
Do we find that out in this book? I thought he was just like a big deal because he was old in this book.
I don't remember if we find it out here or later.
I think it's later because we don't find out about Bill's role until the end of the book.
Ah, okay. Well, sorry for the spoilers then.
Yeah. Look, I finished the book 2 hours ago, so...
Yes, I trust you on your accuracy of this book. Okay, so Eric, super old, like what, 1,000 years or something?
Yeah, he's a Viking.
Yes, which is just fucking awesome.
Yes, which again, that scene. Anyway, I mean, I haven't seen that scene in, 7 years? Whenever it came out, whenever it first aired, that's when I saw it. But, I still enjoy it. With you. It did stick with me. And I have a real appreciation for terrible rom-com romance things. Anyway, moving on. So we're in the bar, and we are talking to all the staff, and we find out basically that the girls had been there, and they were semi-regulars, but they hadn't left with anyone interesting, right?
Yes.
Which is cool. And that her brother had not been there. Nor as the main suspect, he had never been to one of the vampire bars. Yeah. Cool. So,
and I think, and it was, I think Eric is like agreeing to help them, but in turn he wants Suki to help him, right?
So that happens a little bit later. So, okay. So she accidentally outs herself as the telepath because, she overhears that there is an undercover cop in the bathroom, and the undercover cop has come across a vampire and a human being having a sip in the bathrooms, which is not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to take that to your own private locations, which I guess is kind of like rules for clubs anyway. You don't do it in the bathroom stall, or at least you're not supposed to. Yeah, cool. So they, like, drop the signal, and all the hierarchy of vampires, the top vampires, disappear off into the night. So that's Eric, Pam, Long Shadow, who's another one of the vampires, and Bill and Suki. They all just kind of, like, disappear. But we get a quick moment where Eric goes, how do you know this information? And Suki, like, pipes up, and she goes, it's me, and, like, taps her head, and then that's it.
Yeah, because why not be careful with that sort of information?
Yeah, anyway, it comes back to bite her in the ass. We know it.
Yes.
Cool, so, anyway, and also Eric thinks she's sexy.
Yes, because she's the female protagonist, so all the guys want a piece of her.
Honestly, I really enjoy her interactions with Eric, particularly in the beginning, where he's, like, super crass, and she's, like, real Southern Belle about it. Oh, it entertains me so. Yes. Like, the flower scene at the end, we'll go on. Anyway, I'll get to it. I have things to say. Okay. Cool. So, she gets there, she finds out that none of them have... the girls have been there, but her brother hasn't, and she can't really do anything with that information, but she does kind of get a little bit tripped out by the whole shebang, and she kind of, like, leaves Bill in the lurch a little bit. We have the grandmother's funeral, and literally the whole town comes out to her funeral, like, say goodbye. And then we get her brother being really mad at her because her grandmother leaves just her the house, and her brother is fucking pissed off about it. And he slaps her, and leaves this huge bruise across her face. And everybody's like trying not to stare, but they kind of all know that he did it, and the fact that he hit her doesn't like bode well for him in this circumstance, that he was quite violent, because these girls have died quite violently, right?
Yeah. And I mean, he hasn't been living in the house for ages.
Yeah.
Having his own place, so it's a bit
he lives in their parents' house, of which she half owns, right?
Yeah.
But so it turns out that the grandmother had been like, well, Suki gets the house if she gives up her parents' house, basically, to Jason. Yeah. So they have one house each, which makes perfect sense to me, and, you know, in the grand scheme of things, like, works out, because one has a house, like, yeah, anyway. So, basically, he was being a dick and angry, and he didn't know, like, he had a lot of grief and didn't quite know how to handle it, but his way to deal with that really put him on the outs with the cops, because the cops were there.
Yes. Not great.
Not a great look for him.
We also have that, I'm not sure where in the book it comes into play, but we have that chapter where Suki is talking about her funny uncle.
Oh yeah, Uncle Barnett or something. Yeah. She mentions it to Bill.
Yes.
She has...
I think in the beginning Bill was, like, thought that maybe Jason had... Because I think it was after that incident with Jason that Bill was like, well, has he been violent to you before?
Yeah, so I'll show you yours if you show me mine. And she goes, no, it wasn't Jason. And he goes, okay, so who was it? And she was like, well, I had a funny uncle. That funny uncle proceeds to die. Bill has him murdered. And she is like, you can't keep doing this. Like, you can't protect me like this. You have to, like, I have disagreements with people. You can't just go around killing them when you think, and they're on the outs again. Because that's just how this whole book is, right? Bill will do something that's normal in his culture, and she's like, no. And they don't have a discussion about boundaries. But,
yeah.
You know.
I mean, that whole scene where they talk about it, just, it really bothers me that, I mean, she's clearly traumatized by being molested as a child. And he doesn't stop asking and pushing for the answers. And you're like, she has a fucking trauma. Just shut the fuck up and leave her be. It's, yeah.
Yeah, if she wants to tell you if she's comfortable. Yeah. And then the way he deals with it, like, clearly that was going to bring up issues.
Yeah.
Anyway. She's not a vampire. You need to, like, get a handle on that if you're mainstreaming, Bill. Jesus. Jesus.
Yeah. So, yes, we have an uncle dying.
Yes, and he leaves everything to Jason. And except for he gives her $20,000, which she, like, immediately, she doesn't want it. She doesn't want anything from him. She immediately gives it to, like, a child molestation fund or something.
Yeah, and I think we even have, I mean, it's Jason coming over, right, telling them that the uncle is dead. And we have that really weird scene, I don't know the exact quotes anymore, but basically she's like, I hope he suffers in hell for it, and he's like, well, what the hell's wrong with you? And she's like, well, he's never been horrible to you.
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, and there's no evidence. So she's like, it wasn't just me. He also did it to Aunt Linda. And Jason's like, what? And yeah, anyway, there's a lot of... Jason.
Yeah. And at some point we have the fucking quote from Jason where he goes, God, Suki, get over it, you know, it's been so long. And it's just, what the fuck?
Which, he suffers a lot of trauma over the next 13 books, and I hope that he can treat everyone better.
Yes, it's a bit of karma coming back here.
Yeah. Anyway. Moving along. So, what are we up to? Cool. We have the funeral. And then there's what else happens?
There's that weird scene that also comes into play where Bill comes out of the ground, and they have some really weird, grimy sex.
Okay, yeah. So her grandmother is dead, and she's like packing up the house, and they have sex for the first time because he like comes over and she's like depressed, and I don't no, he brushes her hair because she's really sad, and then they go on to have sex, which I didn't make the leap the first time that I read this. I still don't make the leap to that. Anyway, and from then on, they're basically having sex on the reg. She like goes over to see him after one of the fights with Jason. About Uncle Barnett. And she's like, you can't do that. It's like dating the Godfather. And then they proceed to have sex outside while he's covered in dirt. Anyway.
Yes.
Whatevs.
It's grimy and germy and not okay.
Cool. We get a couple more instances of Bill being a good citizen. Oh, wait. We have the vampire nest gets burnt down. So when Sookie's at work, she starts like listening to everybody's thoughts, she's trying to block them out really, but there's this like deep growing sense of like real anger with the vampires that Bill had over at his house the other day, because they are rocking up to all of the bars and being super flamboyant, and one of the girls, the only female vampire, barely wears any clothes, and she is like, this is a conservative region, and she is just not their cup of tea. They're not trying to mainstream at all. They're really like ruining their progress for Bill. And the whole, basically a mob builds up in the bar, and then they end up burning down the vampire nest.
Yeah, but it's always great when they get the pitchforks and the torches
just
out.
Gives you a true sense of what that town is like.
Yes, great citizens. And it continues being really, like, the whole town continues to be really not trusting in Bill. Like, we have a scene where Arlene wants to bring her kids over to Sookie's for babysitting.
Get free babysitting, yeah.
Yeah, and basically Bill's gonna be there for the night, and then Arlene's like, well, I can't leave my kids here now.
Yeah. But they kind of get over that. I think there's like a month or so where everybody just kind of gets over that after the vampire nest gets burnt down and you realize that Bill's not the bad guy or something. And, yeah, so everybody kind of just like apologizes to Sookie, and she does end up babysitting Arlene's kids, and Arlene's second husband, but also her current date, like drops the kids over, and the kids end up staying with Sookie for a couple of hours, and Bill comes over for a bit and talks to the kids, and he's really good with kids, and she's like thinking about how that they wouldn't ever be able to have kids, and it'd be an interesting future. Anyway, then Ren picks them up, and he and Arlene come and pick the kids up, and then we get Bubba coming up through the woods. So basically, Bill has gotten Sookie a bodyguard to stand outside in the woods at night because he's worried about her safety. Because he's about to go out of town for a bit.
Yeah, which, isn't slightly overstepping boundaries at all.
No, they didn't have a discussion about it at all. And again, this conversation about, like, consent.
Yes.
Anyway, open and honest communication, guys. It's key.
But apparently it doesn't make for good stories.
Yes, no. God, no. Anyway, so moving on. Bill then has to leave town for a bit, because he's gonna try and find a way that he can get some more power to get Eric to back off, trying to like do so. Oh shit! Sorry, we should have mentioned when they go back to the bar.
Yeah, so Eric calls
before
Bill and is like, bring her girlfriend over, I need a favor.
Yeah, not even like that. He just demands it because Bill is his like junior.
His underling.
His underling. So they get summoned to the bar, and basically they have to interrogate all of the humans about who stole $70,000.
Yeah, which was peanuts basically.
It's peanuts to the vampires, so everybody's like, it clearly must be a human. Like, why would it not be? And we get a scene. We get the scene where Suki is like, Eric's asking the questions, and Suki's like reading the brain of the human being, like, oh yes, this is like this. He's not telling the truth. He's not telling the truth. You need to ask questions in this direction. Da 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 da. And then she's like super calm for the whole thing, actually. She handles it really well. Like, this is where she is the most, like, in control of who she is. And I think the most confident is when they're doing this in this particular scene. And I think it's a good indication of who she actually becomes at the end of this whole ordeal.
She could have been a private investigator.
Yeah, right? Or a cop. Anyway. If her life had been a little bit different, I guess. If society wasn't the way it was. Anyway, moving on. So, yes, they have this interview process and basically come to the conclusion that our friend Longfang, who's the bartender at Fangster, is basically stealing from Eric, and then he goes to attack Suki, and he bites her arm, and Eric decapitates him, smashes his head in or something.
Yeah, I think it decapitates him.
And all the blood goes in Suki's mouth, and it's kind of like disgusting. And everybody's like, "Ooh, we'll see what happens. We don't know what's gonna happen now." And you're like, "Great, excellent, really enjoying this." Yeah, so then she goes back to work, and everybody starts noticing how different she is, and how she's, like, super preppy, and she doesn't have to, like, work as hard to keep her mental shields in place to protect her from other people's thoughts, and, like, her hair is super blonde, and everybody's
which makes no fucking sense.
Well, I think it's just, like, you know, it just got, like, brighter and shinier and healthier looking, and everybody's like, okay. I think she herself being, she looks like advertised a new vitamin supplement or something. Like, that is kind of one of the reasons why Bill decides he needs to go and power and some sway over. And Suki's like, I need less vampires in my life. She's like, fair enough. But they understand that Eric's not that he knows what she is now. Yeah, Bill's off to go and do things. Someone's got her a bodyguard, and everybody thinks it's super romantic. Yeah, then we have Jason gets arrested, right?
Yes.
Jason gets arrested.
Because, I mean, it is a logical step, seeing how he slept with both of the first victims, and the third one was his grandma. He does have a connection.
But he also, and starts, like, screaming and basically calls the police because she thinks it's his blood, and she, like, endeavors to, like, try and take care of him and all those kind of things, and then the police effectively come and arrest him because he's covered in the blood of the newest murder victim, which is Amy. She ex-victim, right? That's why. So she's and somebody had like left him outside of Sam's bar because they heavily suspected that somebody would find him covered in blood and just call the police.
Yeah, I think then we also have Suki taking a stray dog home with her.
Yeah. She picks up a stray dog at the bar as well. It's like hanging out in the dumpster, and she mentions that they get stray dogs there all the time. And frequently people are just like, she's very sure that people are just dumping them there.
Yes, and of course she just takes them home, which ends up great because she's not waking up next to a stray dog.
Yeah. Her cat also gets murdered. Somebody's like attempt to intimidate. Which is why they think like somebody's gonna come back for her because her cat also gets murdered. So I think she's just missing her cat, and that's why she is prepared to adopt a stray dog, which turns out to not be a stray dog.
No, because when she wakes up, it's actually her boss Sam naked next to her.
Yeah, turns out he's a
shapeshifter.
And she was like, I thought you could only shapeshift into wolves, and he's like, no, I can shapeshift into anything I want. You're like,
I mean, I do really like that aspect more than the idea of like werewolves. Just the thought that shapeshifting into any animal, that's a lot cooler.
Yeah, but I think in the later books we come back to the fact that like werewolves are a specific type of shifter, and Sam is super rare because he can shift into a lot of things. But he has this discussion with Suki where he's like, well, you're super cool with, like, Bill. I thought you'd be super cool with all the supernatural. She was like, it was a virus! And he's like, no, it's not a virus. And she's like, so he's actually dead? And he's like, yeah. And so she has to, like, go and have a vomit. Anyway, I thought that was really well done, that scene. Yeah, so she kicks out Sam. He's like, no, you don't get to stay here. I have a bodyguard in the woods who likes to eat pets. He doesn't like to eat humans. He likes to eat animals. He's crazy. And he's like, ooh, okay, I will leave then.
Yeah, plus, I wouldn't be surprised if Bill left some instructions regarding naked men in Suki's bed.
Yeah. Yeah. More than a little bit. Or at least it would be heavily implied that Bubba was supposed to do something.
Yes, I would think so.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we have the Sam reveal. And, then I think next it's pretty much Suki finding out who the real murderer is, right?
Yeah, because they come to murder her.
Yes. I mean, it does have its upsides when you can listen to the thoughts of the people who are trying to murder you.
Yeah, but she's still like a small woman who gets attacked by a large man.
Yeah. I can't remember, was it inside or outside? Because I can't remember Bubba being any help there.
She like finds Bubba who's like been drugged, and she's like, something's off about, I don't know, the space, or she can like feel an angry ball like out there in the distance. So she starts like collecting. Oh, I think she realizes the phone line is cut or something as well.
Yes, ominous signs.
Yeah, super exciting. And then so she's like, okay, I'm gonna go to Bill's house. I have Bill's spare key, and she like goes to like do all these things, like prep. She gets a torch, she gets like her keys and all these kind of things. Her phone line's cut. She like goes to get the shotgun and realizes somebody's taken the shotgun from her house. So somebody who has, the murderer is somebody who's been in and through her house.
Yes, and also it has to be a human, because Bill is the only vampire who's been invited in, so...
Yeah. Yeah, so she, like, makes a break for Bill's house, which is across the graveyard.
Yes, always a great route to take.
Um,
And yeah, in the graveyard she gets attacked, right?
yeah, and it turns out to be Ren, who is somebody she's known for years and who's like Arlene's boyfriend, whose kids she was babysitting, like...
Yeah. And it comes out of left field. Like, I don't think we ever get a hint
No,
that
not
Renee
really.
has anger issues or problems with vampires necessarily.
No, not really. I mean, Arlene hints at it. She has one comment about, like, how Ren was, like, really good about meeting Bubba because, like, they bump into each other and, like, he was, like, really calm about it because he's not really a vampire kind of person, and he got really mad at his sister Cindy for, like, dating a vampire, and... yeah.
Yeah.
So that's literally it, and that's one comment from Arlene, like, most of the way through the book.
Yeah. So that was a surprise reveal. I kind of like that I wasn't.
Yeah.
Because in a lot of those mystery stories, you already know who it is halfway through, I feel like. So.
Yeah, I did. She did a good job of, like, laying enough of the groundwork that you believe it when you find out who it is, but also that you don't know who it is before the reveal happens.
Yeah. So, a fight ensues.
Yeah. He's like, he has something to strangle her with, and he's like a big dude, and he knocks her down onto the ground. She's like trying to run away from him, but also like she can see what's going on in his head, and it's like a bit distracting and confusing for her, and like he keeps his anger in this like weird pocket inside of his mind. That's why she never like felt that rage around him before, and she realized that he'd also murdered his sister.
Yeah.
And then had sex with her corpse.
Yeah, it's really fucked up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then she realizes that he's still wearing his work uniform, and so she grabs his like knife that is attached to his work belt and guts him with it, and then flees to Bill's house, makes it in the door, presses 911, and then is like passes out basically.
Yes, which was very convenient timing.
Yeah, and we get her in the hospital, and the police officers are there, and they're like, "Oh yes, like we know what happened. You know, we know who it is," because they find him in the graveyard, still being like a massive ball of hate, and telling the investigators that it's her goddamn fault that she wouldn't die, and she's such a fighter, and it must be in the genes because, you know, her grandmother was such a fighter as well, and like
just fucking stupid.
Yeah.
It's bad guy revealing his plans, basically. It's the same.
Yeah, and I think, well, yes and no. I just think it was a good way to like handle what was going on without having to like drag through a court case or anything, to just have him admit.
Yeah. Well, and we have Bill at the hospital, right?
Yeah.
Telling Suki that he's got a promotion, basically.
Yeah, so he's now going to be the investigator for the area, which will give him some power over, or like power separate from Eric.
Yeah, but I mean, he's still technically under Eric, so.
Yeah, but Eric shouldn't be able to interfere with his personal life and his love life.
Yeah, because that's gonna work out.
Yeah. And that's basically the end of the story. Basically being like, our life will go back to normal now. And you're like, will it though? Will it?
Yeah, and we're all lovey-dovey. Or at least I found that the ending definitely was Bill and Suki. Yay.
Yeah, it was a bit interesting. I like the flowers. So Eric sends her flowers, and the flower looks like a vulva. And I think that's pretty funny.
fucking Eric's flower choices.
Yes, I feel like it's just super on point, you know?
I mean, yeah, he knows how to send a flower arrangement.
Yes, he does.
But, yes, so what did you meant earlier about the strange choices throughout the books?
So she's so anti-Sam in this book. Okay, this is spoilers, right? So sorry, just like skip ahead for a bit because like I just have to deal with this. So she's so like anti-Sam here, and they're so like not a thing right up until the very last fucking book where all of a sudden Sam's about to die, she like saves his life and they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna date now instead. Where she like has been dating Eric for like 8 books at that point. And she couldn't use her weird mystery wish to come up with a way to like figure the rest of this shit out. No, she has to use her weird mystery wish to save Sam's life and then go on and have kids. Like, the fuck?
Yes. I mean, I didn't read all of the books, but I did, I did spoiler myself for the rest of the series, just out of curiosity. And I thought the TV show went over the top with some of the crazy shit, but no, it's in the books too.
Yeah, the whole fairy thing?
Yes, that was, oh god, it just seemed like she had planned out most of the story, but then she hadn't really thought much about Suki, and then she just went like, oh yeah, fairies.
I don't know, that was such a left field thing in general, and then you got like the episode about those gods that come to town. Anyway, it just... It's a lot. Yeah.
And the last season wasn't great. Just killing off some main characters for sport.
Yeah, I have issues with books that the series that go on too long and spread themselves out too far. Like, yeah. I have read so many of the Stephanie Plum books, but they are exactly the same and I enjoy them a lot. There's no extra weird shit that comes in. I've read like 20 of the 300 million of those books. And they're like, it's a murder mystery book and our protagonist is a dumb fuck. Brilliant. This book is like, I don't know, just... the series, just there's too many things start happening and it becomes... Your suspension of disbelief goes from, like, a little bit with realistic characters to being like, okay, there is too many things going on and too many problems. And that's why, like, I think the choosing of Sam was trying to bring her story back into the real world where it would be normal, where that just can't be the case. And, like, I've read stories before where, like, there's no going back to being normal at the end of the series, and the character effectively has to die. That's where that ends up leading. They don't get to go any further. And so the way that she tries to like bring Suki back into the normal real life world so she could have a normal life, it was not realistic. Like, she had made so many enemies in the vampire world, she was never going to go back to living in Bon Temp as a waitress or the part owner of a fucking bar. Like,
yeah, and I mean, in the TV show it was handled really strange too. I mean, there she doesn't end up with Sam, she just ends up with a never mentioned or really shown human guy. Just a random fucker. And has like the family and all of that. And after all the shit that happens to her and with her storyline, I would have thought it should be perfectly okay for them to just go, yeah, she ended up with a vampire and never had kids. Oh no.
Or like they adopted or something, or like they did surrogacy, whatever the alternative is. Like, there's so much science out there.
Yeah, but the idea that no, she has to go back to her own kind and needs to procreate.
Yeah, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, it just didn't feel like it fit.
It didn't seem to fit in the written story either, and like, I don't know why you would... Yeah, there was just that she'd done too many things, met too many people, created too many enemies, was too good a tool for other people to not keep using. There's no out for her, and not in a way that she also gets to keep Pam as a friend. Like, just...
yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, that was a lot. You know, it's a lot.
Yes, a little bit. But I mean, overall, it's not a bad read.
Yeah, it's really easy to read. It was pretty fun, pretty fine.
It's perfectly fine.
That's the thing. It was perfectly fine. It, like, I don't know. I had a lot of irritation in the story from like things that I know were gonna happen in the future, and like I like Eric as a character more than I've like any of the other characters that she ends up with in these books. So I like enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Oh well. But go out and read the book or the whole series if you feel like it.
Yeah, or don't.
Or just find some better books to read.
Yeah, look, like the book we're going to read next week, which is Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson.
Yay!
Yeah. So this is one you haven't read before, so this will be brand new for you.
Yes, which will be interesting.
Will indeed.
Yes. So thanks everybody who listened again this week, or maybe for the first time. So do come back next week. You'll find us on any of the podcast platforms: iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube. You take your pick. And follow us on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah, send us an email at treadlightlypod@gmail.com or comment on one of our YouTube videos. If you could also rate and review us on iTunes, that'll help. So, yeah, we'll see you all next week.